Today, I'm going to read and discuss with you one of the recently published essay that I wrote with regard to revolution. I try to decode and decipher some of the element and characteristic of a revolution in the past in order to give us some idea for the next generation revolution if we are going to be involved in or if we want to implement. The word of the revolution comes from Latin word of revolutio, a turnaround, a complete sudden change. Throughout the history, the word has carried both glory and terror. It has promised liberation and delivered tyranny. It has opened doors to progress and slammed them shut to entire civilization in some instances. Today, I want to ask a simple but very uncomfortable question. What makes a revolution succeed for its people rather than devour them? Every genuine revolution must have three indispensable requirements. Number one, widespread social and political awareness among the people. Number two, a minimum shared knowledge of human history and principle of democratic governance. Number three, leadership that is driven by a forward looking vision and thinking rather than nostalgia for a mythical past. When any of these elements or characteristics is missing, revolution could slide. Sometimes it slides slowly, sometimes overnight. It slides into anarchy or new forms of authoritarian regime. History is mercilessly consistent on this point, and there are many examples of that. Let's illustrate and discuss some of the examples that we all know. The commercial revolution of 16th and 17th century was not fought with muskets, but with ships and leisure. It revolutionized the trade, created unprecedented accumulation of wealth, and triggered a population explosion across Europe and beyond. It was chaotic, often brutal, yet it laid the foundation for modern world that we are living in today. The American Revolution of 1776 offered a different model. Men like John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison did not merely want to overthrow a king, they wanted to build something durable. They studied Athens and Rome, the Glorious Revolution, and the Enlightenment. The revolution was imperfect, stained with slavery and dispossession of the native people, but it institutionalized self-correction through written constitution, separation of power, the possibility of amendment, imperfection, yes, but also the seed of continual improvement, a country that we live in and we witnessing the democracy in it. The French Revolution began with similar brilliance. You must excuse my French. Liberté, égalité, and fraternity. Yet, within a few years, devoured its own children and gave Europe Napoleon. Why? because the revolutionary energy outran the people's political maturity and the leaders' ability to build institutions faster than they turned them down. And then there is the tragic category of revolution that are not forward thinking at all, revolution that look backward to an imagined golden age. These are not revolution in true sense. They are restoration disguised as an upheavals. Revolution of Iran in 1979, a broad coalition rose against a repressive monarchy but a working monarchy. Within months, the coalition was shattered and the power was seized by those whose vision was not 1979 or 1776, but 622, the year of the Prophet migration to Medina. The result? A modern, educated, urban society forced into a political order that systematically fears women, fears music, fears the pre-Islamic past itself. Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of Achaemenids, one of the greatest archaeological treasures on the earth, is treated almost as an embarrassment by the Islamic regime of Iran. Left crumble while billions are spent exporting ideology and supporting proxies terrorizing the world. Afghanistan under Taliban is another example, offers an even starker image. In March 2001, the world watched in Hera the explosive reduce the 1700 years old Buddhas in Bamiyan to rubble. We all remember that horrific scene. That was not the destruction of the statues. It was destruction of historical memory itself. A declaration that everything before year zero by Taliban of their calendar must be erased. And they did finally erased their culture. And only 2 years ago, and as recent as few days ago, we saw fires through the Hirkani jungle and forest of northern Iran, one of the planet's oldest living ecosystem and carbon sinks. Older than Amazon in evolutionary terms, while the forest burned, the authority who claimed to be guardian of the gods' creation were busy arresting women for improper wailing. That is what a backward-looking revolution looks like in practice and in reality that we are witnessing. It bears the future while policing the past. So, how should we judge a revolution? Do we blame the people who rise up in hope? Or do we blame the great power who, for 2 centuries, colonized, divided, and propped up tyrannies across Asia, Africa, and Latin America, imposing borders that made no sense, economy that served only the metropolis, and cultural humiliation that still stinks? The honest answer is both carry responsibility. People must take ownership of their action and revolution. Wishful thinking is not a strategy. Romantic fury without historical literacy and institutional design become either chaos or a new machine. The Iranian people in 1979 were not a nation of clerics. They were doctors, engineers, poets, students who dreamed of freedom. Yet, many allowed themselves to believe that return to 7th century purity could coexist with 20th century aspiration. That contradiction did not hold, as we have witnessed. At the same time, let us never forget the original sin of the modern authoritarian in much of the world. It was often planted, watered, fertilized by colonial powers and led by Cold War superpowers who preferred stable dictators to unpredictable democrats. So, the question before us, or any nation standing on the edge of the revolutionary changes, is brutal but necessary. We have to ask that questions. Are we ready? Are we ready? Truly ready, not just to hate the old regime, but to govern better than it did? Do we understand that destroying statues, burning forests, and enforcing dress code are not acts of purification, but acts of civilizational suicide? Do we seek a future that our children will thank us, or are we willing to sacrifice that future on the altar of the revenge and nostalgia? A real revolution does not measure success by how loudly it says no to the old order. It measures success by whether 20 or 50 years later its daughter can walk safer street, its artists can create without fear, and forests still stand, and its ancient monuments are cherished rather than feared. That's the only revolution worth having, the only revolution worth risking everything for. Think about this and let's do the right thing.